I'm admittedly not a big film guy. I've never been very technology oriented, and I've never been a big film guy scouting or watching my team's performance and going over possession by possession exactly what happened. But I was speaking to a college coach, and he was telling me that he spends a lot of time and devotes a lot of time to watching film when they lose, and hardly ever watches the game after they win. And one, I think this is a common characteristic that we spend a lot more time focused on the negative as opposed to the positive. And it's probably why one of the reasons why coaches tend not to be great company because they tend to only see mistakes and not, the positive aspects. And players will tend to feel that from coaches as well. Will start to feel like coaches never say anything positive. Everything's always just focused on the mistake, the mistake, the mistake. But the second part of that, when watching film and focused only on the losses and not so much the wins, is there's a lot of ways that you can lose a game. And just because you lost a game in one way doesn't mean that that's necessarily going to be how you lose, a game the next game. And it doesn't necessarily mean that if you do the opposite of what you did, that you'll win the game. But if you watch, a victory or a game, even when you play well, regardless of, the outcome, you might be able to learn about what your team actually does well and, what you can do to have more success. And so, for instance, let's say I watch a game and we lose, and that game, maybe for whatever reason I was running, one play, over and over and over again. I was running the same play, trying to get the ball to one player, and we lost, and we didn't score very well. We had a poor efficiency. So maybe I decide, well, if I don't run that play, or maybe if I, try to focus on getting the ball to, my second best player, maybe we'll win the next game. But it might have nothing to do with the play. And, let's say I have 10 plays, and so now I'm going to get rid of one. Well, maybe the answer isn't to move to play number two. Maybe the answer is really play number five. And maybe if I watched the game that we won and saw that we did, X, Y, and Z when we won, maybe I could focus on spending more time or calling that play more often or playing that defense more often. Whereas if I only focus on the loss and see, well, in this game we did X and then we lost, so then the next game I changed and tried to do Y and we lost that game, and I never really look at where we have the success. And so I'm not saying, obviously not to watch video of losses or to focus on film of mistakes or poor possessions or poor performances, because there's probably some information that you can glean from those. I'm just suggesting that it might be a mistake to spend the majority, if not all, of your time focused on the mistakes and the poor performances, and ignoring the good performances where you can learn what it is that you do well, where you have more success, where your points are coming from, where your shots that you're making are coming from, how you're playing defense when you're able to stop opponents, things like that. I think you can learn a lot from watching the successful tape, as much or more so maybe than just watching the mistakes or the poor performances. So by all means, for people that are really into film, spend some time on the losses, but don't ignore the wins, because you can glean some important information from the wins. And then you can take positive information back to your team, as opposed to simply saying, well, this didn't go well, so now we're going to try this. Instead, you can come say, well, this game I went back and in this game we did really well and we were doing this, so we're going to try to continue to do more of this. And we can focus on the things that we do well, as opposed to focus on not doing the things that we do poorly.